Justin said it on a Wednesday evening, not during a fight, not at the end of a difficult conversation that had been building. They were in the kitchen. Hailey was making tea. Justin was at the table looking at his phone, not at anything specific, the unfocused scrolling of someone who has something on their mind and is using the phone as a way not to say it yet. Then he put the phone down. He looked at her back. He said, "I need you to forgive me for something." Hailey turned around. She looked at him. She read his face. The specific reading she does, quick and complete. She did not say anything. He said, "Not something recent, something old, something I never properly said sorry for, and I should have a long time ago. I've been carrying it. I need to say it out loud to you." She held his gaze for a long moment. Then she said, "Okay," and she turned back to the kettle. Justin waited. She poured the water. She did not ask what it was. She added the tea bag. She waited for the color to change. She took the bag out. She added a small amount of milk. She took her cup. She went to the other room. Justin sat at the kitchen table, and that was Wednesday. Thursday she woke up before him. She made coffee. She fed Jack. She did the morning things, the feeding and the changing and the cheerful negotiation of a child who has opinions about breakfast. When Justin came downstairs, she looked at him, said, "Good morning," handed him a cup. She was present. She was warm. She kissed him on the cheek when she passed. She just did not ask. Justin watched her move through the morning. He had expected the question. He had stayed up past midnight on Wednesday thinking about how he would say it, the specific thing he needed her to forgive, the full account of it, the words that would make it land correctly. He had 3 versions prepared, a short one, a long one, and the honest one. She did not ask for any of them. He waited through breakfast. He waited through the mid-morning. He waited through lunch, which they ate with Jack between them, the specific noise of a child eating filling the space where a question might have been. By Thursday afternoon he understood she was not going to ask on Thursday. He did not know what this meant. He could not read it as anger or as hurt or as anything specific. She was just not asking, moving through the day at her own pace, letting Wednesday sit exactly where she had left it. Subscribe to Justin Bieber Archives right now. We upload every day. What Justin needed Hailey to forgive him for is coming. Friday was the same. She woke up. She was present. She talked to him about ordinary things. Jack's schedule, something she had seen on her phone, a plan someone had proposed for the weekend. She was easy to be around. She laughed once at something Jack did at breakfast. She reached over and touched Justin's arm when she walked past him in the kitchen. She did not ask. Justin was in the specific discomfort of a person who has said something significant and then not had it responded to. Not ignored, she had said okay on Wednesday. She had looked at him. She had acknowledged it. But she had not opened the door. The door was just sitting there. He had put his hand on it. She had seen his hand on it. And then she had gone to the other room with her tea. Friday morning he thought, maybe she needs me to bring it up again. Friday afternoon he thought, maybe she needs me not to bring it up. By Friday evening he had decided to ask. Friday evening he said, "Are you okay?" She said, "Yes." He said, "About what I said Wednesday?" She said, "Yes." He said, "You haven't asked." She said, "I know." He said, "Why not?" She looked at him. She said, "Because I need a few days to decide if I want to know." He said, "You need to decide if you want to know." She said, "Yes." He said, "Why wouldn't you want to know?" She said, "Because some things change once you know them, and I need to decide if I want this to be a thing that changes or a thing that stays where it is." He looked at her. He said, "I'll tell you whatever you want." She said, "I know. That's not the question." Comment now. Do you already know what Justin needed to be forgiven for? Or does the next part surprise you? Saturday morning, the 3rd day. Justin woke up at 7. He did not check his phone immediately. He lay in the dark for a moment and thought about the 3 days. Wednesday, he had said it. Thursday, she had not asked. Friday, she had said she needed to decide if she wanted to know. Saturday was the question. He got up. He made breakfast. He got Jack up, changed him, brought him to the kitchen. He made eggs. Jack sat in the high chair and watched him cook with the specific, engaged attention of a child who finds everything new and interesting. Justin talked to Jack while he cooked. He narrated the eggs. Jack seemed satisfied with this. Hailey came downstairs at 8:30. She did not say good morning first. She sat down across from him at the kitchen table. She looked at him. She said, "Tell me." He looked at her. She said, "I've decided I want to know." He put down what he was holding. He said, "The period before we got together. The last time Selena and I were together. When it ended. The way it ended." He said, "The last time Selena and I were together, when it ended, I wasn't honest with her about what was happening with us, with you and me. She thought things had ended because of something about her, about the relationship, about things she had done. She didn't know about you. She didn't know there was a you yet. I let her believe the wrong story about why it was ending because telling her the true story was harder. And I took the easy way." He said, "I've never said sorry to her for that. I've never told her the real reason. And I've never said sorry to you for being someone who was capable of doing that, who chose comfort over honesty when it mattered. You're married to me. You should know who you married, including the version of me who existed before I became whoever I am now. And that version handled the ending of something real by being dishonest about why it was ending. That was wrong. And I've known it was wrong since before our wedding. And I'm telling you now because I don't want to carry it anymore, and I don't want you to be married to someone who carries something like this without you knowing." Hailey was quiet. She looked at the table. She looked at him. She said, "That's what you've been carrying." He said, "Yes." She said, "For how long?" He said, "Since before we got married. It's been in the background since before the wedding, since the door the night before, since I watched the way the chapter ended and I knew I hadn't handled it right." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Why now?" He said, "Because of the yacht. 4 days on the water with nothing to do but be present. 3 evenings watching you with Jack. And then the third night lying awake thinking about who I want to be, not as a performer, not in any public sense, as a husband, as a father, as a person you can trust completely." He said, "And I realized I had been carrying something that was making that impossible. You can't be fully trustworthy while carrying a secret dishonesty from your past. Even if it's old, even if it's done, it was still in me. And I went to the bow at 3 a.m. and I talked to God about it, and I decided I was going to come home and put it down properly." She said, "You told me at 3 a.m. He said, "I told God at 3 a.m. I'm telling you now." She said, "And Selena?" He said, "I need to tell her too, not now, separately. I don't know exactly how yet, but she deserves to hear what actually happened, not to revisit anything, just to know the real reason. She spent years with the wrong story and that's not fair to her." Hailey said, "That's the right call." He said, "Yeah." She said, "Not now, but eventually." He said, "Yes, right now I'm telling you." Hailey looked at him for a long time. She said, 3 days. He said, "I know." She said, "I needed 3 days." He said, "I know. Was the waiting okay? I didn't know if I should push." She said, "It was exactly right. I needed to decide if I wanted the door open, and I did, and now it's open." He said, "Yeah." She said, "I need to ask you something." He said, "Okay." She said, "Was it just about how you handled the ending, or was there more?" He said, "It was about how I handled the ending, the dishonesty of it, not about what I felt. I'm not asking you to forgive feelings. I'm asking you to forgive a choice I made about how I treated someone when I was ending things with her. And a choice I made about not telling you what kind of person I had been in that moment." She said, "You were afraid I'd think less of you." He said, "Yes." She said, "Do you want me to tell you how I feel about it now that I know?" He said, "Yes." She said, "I think you were young and scared. And you did the thing that scared young people do. You avoided the hard conversation because you didn't know how to have it. I don't think you're that person anymore. I think you're sitting across from me at 8:30 on a Saturday telling me the truth about something you could have kept carrying forever. That's not someone who avoids things." He looked at her. She said, "I forgive you." 3 words, said simply, directly, without weight or ceremony. He closed his eyes for a second. When he opened them, she was still looking at him. She said, "You've been carrying this since before the wedding." He said, "Yes." She said, 3 years at least." He said, "At least." She said, "Put it down, right here, right now, in this kitchen." He said, "Yeah. Okay." She reached across the table. She put her hand on his. Jack threw a piece of egg on the floor and watched it land with great satisfaction. Neither of them moved to pick it up. Jack looked at the egg on the floor, then at them, then back at the egg. Justin said, "We should get that." Hailey said, "Yeah." Neither of them moved. He called Selena 3 weeks later, not to revisit the chapter, not to open anything, to say the one specific thing that had not been said when it needed to be said, and to say it clearly, and then to stop. He said, "I wasn't honest with you about what was happening with Hailey when things ended between us. You deserved honesty and I gave you avoidance. I'm sorry for that." Selena was quiet for a moment. She said, "I know." He said, "You knew." She said, "I figured it out, not at the time, but eventually, I put it together." He said, "I should have told you then." She said, "Yes, you should have." He said, I'm sorry." She said, "I know. Thank you for saying it out loud." He said, Does it change anything for you?" She thought about that. She said, "It closes something. Not something I was actively holding open, but something that was sitting there not quite closed. And now it is. That's better." He said, "Good." She said, "How's Jack?" He said, "He's really good." He said his first word. She said, "What was it?" He said, "Dad." She said, "Of course it was." He laughed. She said, "Take care of yourself, Justin." He said, "You too." 5 minutes. Clean. Complete. The specific efficiency of two people saying exactly what needs to be said and nothing more. Hailey found out about the call from Justin. He told her that evening. He sat down across from her and said, "I called Selena today." She already knew. I said, "Sorry." She said, "Thank you." She asked about Jack. I told her he said Dad. She laughed. 5 minutes. That was it. Hailey listened. She said, "How do you feel?" He said, "Lighter, a lot lighter." She said, "Good." He said, "I didn't expect it to feel this much different. I thought it would feel like relief. It feels like more than that." She said, "That's because you've been carrying it in multiple directions at once. Toward her, toward me, toward yourself. When you set something down that has been going in 3 directions, you feel all 3 weights lift." He looked at her. He said, "When did you figure that out?" She said, 3 days ago, when you told me." He said, "You figured it out during the 3 days." She said, "That's what the 3 days were for." He said, "I thought you were deciding if you wanted to know." She said, "I was doing that too, but I was also understanding the shape of it, what you were carrying and in which directions, what it would mean to set it down, what it would require of you and what it would require of me." He said, "And?" She said, "And I forgave you on day 2, I just needed day 3 to decide how to tell you." He said, "You forgave me on day 2. She said, "Yes." He said, "But you made me wait until Saturday." She said, "You needed Saturday. You needed to sit in the not knowing for 3 days so you'd understand that I wasn't going to leave over this, that I was going to stay and think and come back to you. That's what Saturday morning was for. Not the forgiveness, the demonstration that I was still here." He was quiet for a moment. He said, "That was the 3 days." She said, "Yes." He said, "You were showing me you were staying." She said, "Yes." He looked at her. She said, "Put it down, Justin." He said, "It's down." She said, "All of it." He said, "All of it." She said, "Good." There is one thing Hailey never told Justin. On Thursday night, the first full day of the $3, she had sat in the bathroom for 20 minutes after he fell asleep. Not crying, sitting on the edge of the tub with the light on, thinking. She had been thinking about what he had said. "I need you to forgive me for something." Not something recent, something old. She had not asked. She had gone to the other room, drunk her tea, come back to bed. But in the bathroom on Thursday night, she had been thinking about it, not trying to guess. She was in the business of waiting until the right amount of information arrived. She did not have enough yet. She was thinking about what it meant that he had said it at all. He had put the phone down. He had looked at her back. He had said, "I need you to forgive me for something." This was not an accident. This was not something that slipped out. He had been working up to saying it. She had felt that in the kitchen even before she turned around. The specific quality of the silence from his direction that means something is about to be said. He had chosen Wednesday evening in the kitchen. He had chosen to say it to her. And then he had waited. She sat in the bathroom on Thursday night and she thought, a person who is afraid of being known does not do that. A person who is still performing does not sit across a kitchen table from their wife and say, I need you to forgive me for something. A person who has not done the work does not open that door. He had opened the door. She had walked to the other room. And she had needed those 3 days to sit with the full shape of that, not just what he had done wrong in the past, but what it meant that he was telling her now, the then and the now together. The person he had been, and the person who had put the phone down on Wednesday and looked at her back and said the thing. By Saturday morning, she had the full shape of it. She went downstairs. She sat across from him. She said, "Tell me." And he did. What do you think Hailey felt during those 3 days of silence? Leave your theory in the comments. I will pin the most compelling one.